Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, my man Reggie working it all the way through the playoff season for a change.
What up, man?
What is up, man?
Oh,
I'm
you
enjoying this.
sound
This is
working it
what,
through the playoff season, huh?
yeah. This is like overtime, right? This is overtime that I got my main man Reggie doing.
It is overtime, man. We're getting some free football, if you will, a little extended season for us. And as we talked about, man, this has been the first time that we've experienced this in a long. Well, certainly since we've been doing the podcast,
Yeah,
and it's certainly the first time that we've been a legitimate team. I mean, we made it, a few years ago at 7-9, but we really didn't have a shot. I mean, we were
right.
hopeful, but realistically, we didn't really have a chance. And but we have a legit team, legit chance. So this feels different, I guess, is what I'm ultimately trying to get at. You know,
Yeah. I think it's interesting for those that are looking at social media, um, and you see anything coming from Detroit. Detroit is the media or some of the podcast people and everything. They're they're basically overlooking Washington. They're almost like that's just a given. That's a win. We're a little bit worried about Jaden, but at the same time, I understand they're 15-2, right? A great season. And we can talk about, some of the stats and everything coming along here. But man, in the playoffs, man, you got to take every team serious. Every team. And I know some of it's just a bunch of lip smack and talk, but man, you better take the Commanders serious.
yeah, it's not just it's the fan base. It's anyone associated with the Lions, right? Fans are talking trash. Uh, Other content creators, podcasters, everybody, everybody seems to be, to your point, overlooking Washington. I think for them, they feel like this was the best case scenario for them to get a Washington team that is young, first year rookie quarterback, and it's like they're very excited to be facing Washington because they feel like this is a game they should win and that they will be on their way to the NFC Championship game. What's interesting, I haven't checked. I think the last time I looked, the Vegas spread was 9.5.
Yeah, still
Um,
is.
Still 9.5, and it's a little bit surprising um, to be 9.5 point favorite, but because that means Vegas doesn't feel like we have much of a chance here. And but at the same time, I get it, right? If I was Detroit, the recent success that they've had as a franchise, and each year they're getting better and better, and they're picked to really make some noise in the playoffs this year. And in some people's eyes, they're favored to make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
And we're six seed team coming in there, and I get it, man, I get it. But I think the part that surprises me is that their fans and people are talking as if they've done something. I mean, they've been uh, when it comes to NFL success, they've been a poor organization. I don't mean financially, but
For
just when it
our
comes to,
lifetime, for our entire lifetime.
I mean, they've been awful forever. So for them to be kind of running their mouths a little bit and acting like we're a nobody, it's like, bro, you might want to you might want to check our resume.
Right.
And we've not been good for a few years, and I get that. But you could easily look at us and say that we're somewhat of a reflection of what has transpired with them since Dan Campbell became their head coach. We have our own Dan,
Right.
right? Dan Quinn has come in and has made a difference and turned our team around just as their Dan did for their organization. So they should be, you would think they'll be a little humble, man. I mean, they've had two Hall of Fame players retire early. because they want to get out of that mess. And I'm
Yeah.
referring to Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson,
Right.
right? They've had enough.
They had enough.
They're like, hey man, the money, none of this is worth it to be here to put up with this mess.
Right.
So again, I kind of understand it, but man, you think they'd be a little more humble about it, because I think they fans. I'm speaking here. I think they are confusing the celebration and excitement of Commander fans as we're just excited to be here and to take part and to be doing something good for the first time in a long time. And I think they're taking it as if that we're celebrating that we're going to come in and kick their butt, right? And I don't think anyone is saying we're going to go to Detroit and win. I think there's a lot of people that are hopeful, but I think the odds are that the chances are slim, but anything can happen because we don't need to play Detroit best of five. We need to play Detroit one time. And any given Sunday, right? Anything can happen. And in this case, it's on Saturday. Anything can happen, man. So they should chill just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, you don't go 15-2 by accident. Um,
Okay.
you know, you may have some weaker games in there. Um, they played the Colts and Jacksonville and Titans and some of the teams that we played. They got to play the Bears twice. Bears are, if it was the NBA, the Bears would be in the lottery again.
Right.
A lot of teams that they played were in the lottery. Some of the teams that they lost to, they lost 2 games. Both of those were playoff teams. They lost to Buffalo Bills and they lost to Tampa Bay. So again, I'm not trying to downplay and say that they're not a very good team, a solid team, but it's not like they were knocking off everybody that was the team out there, right?
Well,
Um,
well, I don't want to discredit their schedule because I don't want people discrediting our schedule, right? I mean, the schedule is what it is, and
correct,
we
correct,
played who they played, and they play who they played. But at the end of the day, they are beatable. I think they, ironically, when I was doing a little research for this, they're very similar to Tampa. It's just that their offense is a little more prolific. You could probably make the argument that their skill position players would be a notch above,
right,
but they're very susceptible on the defense. They have a good defense, and they've done well in the scheme with Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator, and they're doing just enough to get it done. And again, Washington is the same way, right? Our offense has carried our team this season. The defense is doing just enough,
right.
but they're just able to do it at a higher level and a more consistent rate, and it is equated to a 15-2 schedule. And but they have some dogs over there, man, at the skill position,
Yeah.
and we have to be ready. We have to be
Oh,
ready.
no doubt. Like I said, I'm not knocking them whatsoever. It's just a reality of where they are and what they're doing. Again, 15-2. You can't be a bad team and be 15-2, even though people tried to knock Washington on their schedule. You're not a bad team. Maybe you're not as good as the top 2 or 3, but you're not a bad team when you end up winning 12 games in any season. Again, I don't know what division you're in or what you're playing. But
Facts.
yeah, Washington, I'm sorry, the Detroit, their defense is 7th overall. Um, they're and it's kind of their defense is kind of the yin and yang. They're rushing.
It's exactly the way Tampa was.
Yeah,
Was it with
they're the
Tampa?
fifth in rush defense. They're fifth in pass defense. They're 30th. Um, and from a Washington perspective, the last back half of the season where's our strength and where's our weakness? Well, our weakness has been rushing, and our strength has been passing. So I I I can't guarantee it because we're going to rush some to at least keep everything honest and make them play the entire field. But I imagine we're going to be opening it up from a passing attack a little bit more. Um, they have here again. We've been the last 6-7 weeks. We even commented on the Tampa Bay game where our penalties were down, but but the previous 5 or 6 weeks, our penalties were close to double digits every game. Um, Detroit has more penalties than us throughout the season. Now, I didn't go to look to see what game or at what point they were, but they've got about 10% more penalties than we do. So there's opportunities to keep drives going when maybe you're struggling with the penalties there. Um, they've scored on their offense has scored 31 points or more in the last 6 games. Right, their offense is rolling, but they've also given up 31 or more points in 3 out of 6 of those games. So, tighten up your shoes, take an extra swig of Gatorade, because I see this as being a high scoring game right off the bat here. It's not going to be a 20-23 game. It may come down to the end, but if it comes down to the end, it's going to be in the 30s, maybe the 40s. But
Okay. I don't see a high scoring game, but I do think, again, to the point that you made, I think what each of these teams do well, the the other one does bad on the other side. So what I mean by that is our strength is offensive passing and not running the ball,
right,
and our passing is their weakness. They're 28th or 30th in pass defense. Um, when it comes to rush defense for Washington, we're 30th in the league in rushing defense, but they're 6th in rushing, and they're 2nd in passing.
right,
And so when you combine that together offensively, Detroit Lions, to your point, you're making they're averaging 31 points a game in the last 6. They're 2nd in passing and 6th in rushing. So offensively, they get it done. And I know people say defense wins championship, man, but listen, most of the teams that win the championship typically have prolific offenses, regardless of what the defense just needs to do enough. And Detroit's defense has done enough. I mean, you look at the previous years with Kansas City. Kansas City's got some good defenses, but in some cases, their defense was middle of the road. You look at some of the New England years, right? I mean, it had good defenses, but they weren't top 5 defenses in some cases.
right,
But that being the case, it's working for them, no different than it's working for Washington. Washington is defense is doing just enough to get it done, and they are going to have to be on their toes on Saturday to get it done because, to your point, that offense can put up some points and they can put up points in a hurry. Um, but one of the things I noted here, and I'll pull up a note here, that Washington, when they have the ball, will have the ability to exploit their run defense, to exploit Detroit's run defense. And the stat that I have here, when it comes against quarterback, their run defense facing quarterback. So in this case, you're looking at your primarily your mobile quarterbacks because most of the guys in the league nowadays are pretty mobile.
right,
But when it comes to yards per rush, they're giving up 6.2 average yards per play against running quarterbacks. That makes them 31st in the league. Jaden's a runner. Rush yards total, they've given up 454 yards to quarterbacks. Again, that's 29th in the league. They have given up 6 rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. That they're tied for 27th in the league. And first down percentage conversions versus quarterbacks, 43%. 43% conversion
right,
rate, which makes them 28th in the league. So we have a dynamic playmaker at the quarterback position, and everything I just listed here, 31st, 29th, 27th, 28th in these categories. And these are categories where Jaden excels. So what that means is when we're on offense, we have the ability to make some things happen. Problem is, can our defense then in turn get some stops against or turnovers against their offense? And because again, time of possession for Washington, as we witnessed last week in the wild card game against Tampa, we had almost a 10-minute on the plus side in time of possession.
Right.
Washington get time of possession to keep their offense off the field. Advantage Washington. So there is a chance. There
Well,
is a
and,
chance.
and even when you look at the stats, as you're talking about them a little bit further and a little bit deeper, because the Lions are scoring a lot of points, that's taking teams out of the run, right? If you're down by 7-10, trying to catch up, you're throwing the ball a lot. So that again, maybe both of those stats, maybe even the passing that they're 30th is a little bit skewed, but probably definitely the rushing will be also, right? And maybe the passing should be closer to 25, which is still not good, and the rushing maybe should be 10 or 12. And when you think about it like that, you're like, well, okay, we can move the ball on both sides like that. This isn't a lockdown rushing defense. It's just that because they're scoring so much, if you want to stay with them, you're going to have to throw the ball a lot as well. So time will tell. I mean, you talked about the line being 9.5. The under over started at 49.5. It's jumped 6 points. It's at 55.5 right now. I would take the over. I would take the over on 55.5.
I would take the under.
I mean, again, if you take what Washington, I mean, even Washington going to score 24 points. They haven't scored less than 31. So even if you lose 24-31, that's 55 right there. Another half point, and I think that's even a low score. It wouldn't surprise me if the final score was both teams are in the 30s. But time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't know. No, I was just gonna say I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope this is one of these games where our offense truly look alive. There's times like we put up 23 points last week, and it was a hard 23 points to beat Tampa.
Yeah.
And obviously the last 3 came at the end of the game, but the first 20, there was a hard fought 20 points. And I hope that the scoring and the flow of the offense is smoother, and we can just kind of move the ball, even if we don't get touchdown. I mean, obviously touchdowns is the name of the game here, but if we're showing that we can get out here and move the ball up and down the field on this defense, then I feel a lot better than we're just struggling to get first down. We're struggling to convert third downs, right? Where like it was last week, where you're like, man, we got to get it going here. And where you're hoping that every drive results in a touchdown because, man, it looks so difficult to move the ball on this defense. I hope it's the opposite of that.
Right.
And so, because if that's the case, then I think Detroit's in trouble. Not only their fans are going to be concerned, but I think the team is going to be concerned. Because Washington, I truly believe the majority of the players on Washington are going to play loose. I don't, and whether that's a credit to Jan Quinn, Jake Daniels, or whatever the case may be, we have some veteran players on both sides of the ball. I think the team's going to play loose. I really do. And but if that game is tight, I think Detroit's going to get tight.
Yes.
And then they start to play tight. And again, that's advantage Washington.
Yeah.
But that's a big if, though. That's a big if.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about, the teams have some similarities. I think they're number 1 and number 2 on going for it on fourth down. And the success rates are both very high for both teams. Both teams have had multiple games where their punters. We've talked about it several times with Washington, where the punter doesn't even punt a single time. There's a chance on this game that neither punter punts on this one. If it becomes a high scoring and both teams going for it on fourth down, while it doesn't necessarily relate directly to these two teams here and now, Washington has never lost Detroit in the playoffs. They've met 3 times, and Washington has walked away 3 times with a win. And the big, with us winning 12 games and a lot of records that are being broken by Jane Daniels or the team, a lot of those records go back to 91, right? 91, we beat Detroit. That was with Barry Sanders. It was supposed to be a close game, even though Washington was favored. It was a lot of people were picking Detroit, to upset because of Barry and everything. Washington won by 30 points. It was a 30-point victory. So again, I'm not saying this team is the 91 team, but you just don't know. You got to wait and see how it has played out. I like that we used Austin Eckler a little bit more last week. He said, I don't know if you heard the interview with him. He said he felt good and he noticed the rust when he was playing against Dallas, but he felt really good out there in Tampa. And I mean, to your point, he's loose and ready to just get after it and do whatever he's got to do to get the win. Because in the last four minutes or so, he had a big time catch and a big time run that set them up for the field goal, to win the game. So
right. I alluded to it a little bit earlier, man. Detroit has to kind of put this game away, because if they don't put this game away and this game gets close or is close in the fourth quarter or toward the end of the game, Detroit's gonna be in trouble, man.
yes,
Just because we've seen what this offense and this team can do when the game is close. But I saw another stat, man. I know you love stats, and I'm gonna give
okay,
you a little nugget here. Jayden Daniels, rookie sensation, second overall pick, right? And I forgot the source, so I can't give the credit to the source here. But fourth quarter and overtime this year for the 2024 season. Again, I'll be specific. The fourth quarter and overtime. Jayden Daniels and our team, but primarily Jayden, is averaging 9 points per game in the fourth quarter. That's number one this year. Jayden Daniels himself has a 71.8 completion percentage in the fourth quarter and or overtime. That's fourth in the league. Jayden Daniels has 13 passing touchdowns in the fourth quarter or overtime. That makes him tie for first in the league. And Jayden Daniels has a 116.2 passer rating in the fourth quarter or overtime this season, which has him in second place. So what that tells you, folks, is you give us the ball in the fourth quarter, we know how to come back. We know how to sustain drives. We know how to score points. And we could be dangerous. So if this game is close, and I know that's a big if, but if this game is close, Detroit's going to be in trouble.
yeah. There was I don't know if it was the NFL Network or ESPN or one of the shows where there was 4 or 5 guys up there talking, and they were talking about this game with coming down to the wire, and they said, if it comes down to the wire, who do you have more confidence that's going to score that last drive? Golf and team or Jaden Daniels and team? Everybody was like, what they basically said. One guy actually said it, and everybody pretty much agreed. They said, other than Patrick Mahomes, there's nobody that they would go to right now other than Jaden Daniels. Now,
Yeah.
I think that's a little extreme because there's a couple other good quarterbacks, but that goes to tell you this isn't just one or two games. This is an entire season that we've seen time and time and time again. And win or lose on this game, man, the future is bright in Washington. The pieces that they have in place, the cap space they have in place, the approach from, again, all the way from the top all the way down to the ball boy is what is exactly what you want on a team, and that is why this team is going to be dangerous on Saturday night up in Detroit.
And let's not overlook the fact that Washington has now become a free agent destination, right?
Yes,
Players now want to come to Washington to, whether that's play with Jayden Daniels or play for Dan Quinn. So, you listen, and again, I mentioned it the other day, man. I'm excited about this offseason for that reason. I'm excited to see that we have the potential to be in play for more Bobby Wagners out there, more Austin Ecklers, more Zach Ertz, because I know and fully believe if we didn't have new ownership in place, Bobby Wagner's not here, Zach Ertz not here, and Austin Eckler's not in uniform with us.
right.
So so we have the potential now to be in play. We have a seat at the table when it comes to agents and free agents, players, to have a chance to come to Washington, man. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Excited about it.
Yeah, it is. We'll all be ready to watch this game on Saturday night. That's for sure. Is it time, Reggie?
I think it's time.
Everybody's been waiting for it. It's we had some audio issues late in the season. Those have been corrected, and it's that time. What's your name? What's your number? What's your confidence level going into this game in Detroit? We know Detroit is good, but how confident are you that we're going to walk out and face the winner of Philly and the Rams? And would you rather face Philly or would you rather face the Rams next week, Reg?
To give myself a chance to win, I'd probably say the Rams, but it
Okay.
would probably be more sweet to play the Eagles for the third time and settle the score,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to be able to say we beat them and then run it and have a chance to go to the uh, Super Bowl.
Yeah. No,
But
I
but
I
but
definitely
I think
agree.
the
It was
easier path, I would think the easier path would be to play the Rams,
yes, but to your
but we
point,
got a big
the sweeter path would be to kick that Eagle ass
yes.
to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but we got
But
a big task in front of us this week, man, against the Detroit Lions. So since I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and start first, man.
get it.
I said last week that the keys to victory was the run game being a must and no penalties. And as long as we're playing before throughout the rest of this season, that's going to be this. That's going to be my two biggest keys. I think the run game has to show up. We won last week in spite of it. And the only thing I can say to that is, I guess that we had big runs in key moments, as opposed to just having a run game that was consistent throughout. When we needed that first down or we needed to escape pressure, whatever the case, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler was getting key yardage in key situations. Penalties speak for themselves. We need not to kill ourselves with penalties. I mean, because every week, every game gets bigger and bigger. The opponent gets better, better and better. Um, I think also the keys here is Washington has to come out and weather the storm early. This is a home game for Detroit. This is again, we talked about the excitement around the fan base, around the team. They are expecting to go to the Super Bowl. And so everyone is going to be geeked up for this game on Saturday, including their fans. This game is at night. They're going to have all day to get ready, get sauced up, and be ready to come out and yell, scream, and cheer their team on, right? Um, and we have to weather the storm. We're on the road, and we have to be able to withstand that. The crowd noise, all the energy in the building, all of that, because we can't afford to try to play from behind, because I think Aaron Glenn and their defensive scheme will exploit that. I question whether or not Detroit, being the number one seed in the NFC, had a bye week. Did the bye week help them? Will they be rested and ready to go? Or are they going to be rusty? Because we played last week. They didn't. Or are they going to be rusty? And can we catch them early? Because they got to get back into it, right? I don't know the answer. These are all things that are going to be very important. And the last thing I'll say is Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a good passer of the football, right? And he does well in their system and in their offense. But I'm hoping that Washington, because he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Josh Allen. So when he drops back, he's going to be right where he is, right? He doesn't quite have the mobility. I mean, he's mobile, but he certainly doesn't have the mobility of a lot of guys out there. So when he drops back, you should meet the defensive line should meet at the quarterback, because he will be there when they get there. So that being said, Ken, these are all things that I'm curious and questioning as we go into this game. I'm going to give my confidence number a 5.
A 5. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say
I changed it at the last minute.
yeah, I'm gonna say that's a good number, because you were only at a 4 last week against Tampa Bay. So what you saw in Tampa Bay, or what you don't see in Detroit, is giving you a little bit better feeling. And
I'll
I
just
don't
say
Go
I'll
ahead.
just say that I was going to go 4 again, but as I was talking, this team playing loose, I think there is. I guess I'm hopeful that the bye week for Detroit did more harm than good. Yeah, players got healthy, but I'm hoping that they was a little rusty and we can get up, we can catch them early. Um, I'm hoping that they're overlooking us a little bit, and I'm just hopeful this team, man. This team has shown us throughout the year that they can never be counted out, and in even the games that we lost, when we lost to a lot of the good teams this year, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we really got blowed out in any of them.
Correct.
And so I think the team will be ready to play, man. And so I bumped it from a 4 to a 5.
Okay. Um, I don't really disagree with some of the things you said. Some of the notes that I have jotted down here. Last week we kept the penalties low. We definitely need to do that again. I think we had 5 last week. If we could get the 3 to 4, even better. That might be asking too much, but it's not. It's just not giving free yards. It's not giving free first downs. It's not hurting yourself. Um, and I'm going to be interested in how we attack initially, how we attack on offense. Um, it won't surprise me if we come out and try to run the ball and try to establish some level of run game. And because I think in this game, if we're able to run the ball at a moderate level, it spells trouble for Detroit.
I agree.
That doesn't guarantee a win or loss, but now you've got a run game, you've got Jaden, and you've got the pass game. It becomes trouble. And we know that Detroit likes to score. I mean, likes to score. They are scoring a lot. Everybody likes to score. But we need to be able to not necessarily get in a track meet, but we can't come up short and have field goals. We need touchdowns. If we come up short and we're trading touchdowns for field goals, you're going to get behind quick. And then from a coaching perspective, you start making decisions that you wouldn't normally make under, if you're up by 3 or down by 3.
Right.
And so, again, that's where I feel for that. Defensively, I'm interested on how we approach them with Lattimore, how much we blitz, because they've got a 1,000, actually 1,400-yard running back, and not one but 2,000-yard receivers. Granted, there's 17 games now, so being 1,000, he was the second one was 1,001. So that might have been a little dink pass to make sure he got it, just to make for he might have got some bonus type of thing on that at the last 2 minutes of the game or whatever. But they've got some weapons there, so I'm going to be interested to see where Lattimore lines up, how we're rotating around. Are we going to be playing a lot of zone because of those two wide receivers? And we talked about it earlier, talk about it again. If we're within a score, whatever that is, 7 points or less with 5 minutes left in the game, Detroit is going to be puckering. They're going to be puckering because they know they've seen all the tapes. They've seen all the ESPN reels. They've seen the Hail Mary. They've seen all this stuff. And with that being said, I think Washington can definitely make this a game. Are they going to pull it out? I don't know. But I think that they can hang with them and take it down to the wire and see what happens. My confidence level is a 5.5. It's
okay.
It's not. It's no. Yeah, we're going to win this game. I think we can win this game. You're going to have to play well. You're going to have to play smart. You're not. Can't have 2 or 3 turnovers. You can't have double-digit penalties. If that starts happening, or we're headed in that to those kinds of numbers, even in the first half, it's going to be a long day.
I agree, and we can't allow Detroit to get out too much of a lead. But yes, I think there's a chance, man. We have a chance here. This is not I don't think we're going to go in here overmatched. But Dan Quinn has his team believing, and they play hard, and I think we have a shot. Will we come away with the W? I'm hopeful. I'm not going to be braggadocious and sit here and say, man, we're going to definitely go in here and kick their butt. But if we win this game on Saturday, I can't say I'm going to be more happy than I am surprised, if that makes sense.
Right.
I'm going to be extremely happy. But if you ask me how surprised, I'd be like, man, we got number 5 back there. And the way this team is playing, I'm not totally surprised.
Yep.
But I'm extremely happy with it, right?
Yep. So we shall see. We shall see.
Anyway, we'll be back with a post-game review on this. Hopefully it will be celebrating going to the we'll be 4-0 against Detroit and going into the NFC Championship game. But if not, we'll come back and we'll still talk about the game and give our thoughts and opinions about it, and just kind of how we felt about the season and where things are headed and where we're going and all that type of stuff. But we'll see, man. We'll come back, and a lot of people thought we was gonna be one and done last week, and look at us. Who, that, like that saying says, who would have thought?
Yeah,
not me.
I mean, we're 1 game away from the NFC Championship game, 2 games away from the Super Bowl, and there's no way you could have convinced me.
Look at us.
Before week 1 that this is where we would be. It's been a great ride. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that it's not over, and keep on going down the road, man.
Look at us. Look at
Look
us.
at us.
All right. All right. So until next time, y'all, we appreciate you tuning in and listening. Peace out.
Peace out, knuckleheads.